This is Tutor Hira, and it's time for High School Advanced Writing class. Log into A Plus program, subject English, and the chapter name is Writing Arguments. Choose it from grade 10, Writing Arguments. And the lesson number is lesson number 2. Choose evidence to support a claim. We are going to discuss this lesson first. Let's begin. Choose evidence to support a claim. Whenever you write an essay, you need to provide evidence to support your claim. So, to make an effective argument, be sure to provide evidence that your readers will find trustworthy and persuasive. So, an evidence that your reader finds trustworthy and persuasive is very important, and it makes an effective argument. The strongest evidence for a factual claim, if you make a factual claim, the strongest evidence for this factual claim directly supports the claim, comes from a credible source, such as well conducted research or an expert in the field, and is not merely anecdotal. So, these two are the components that are present in the strongest evidence for a factual claim. First one, it directly supports the claim. Secondly, it comes from a credible source, like uh, a well conducted research or an expert in the field. Okay, let's read this example. There is a claim, and strong evidence is also mentioned for this claim to support the claim. In contrast to previous generations, millennials don't feel as compelled to get married. Well, it's quite relatable these days as well, that in contrast to previous generations, millennials don't feel as compelled to get married. It's a claim. Now, how can you provide a strong evidence? Among all age groups surveyed, millennials were most likely to agree with the statement marriage is becoming obsolete. Well, among all age groups surveyed means there was a survey conducted, and it's a strong evidence because it shows that a well conducted research was done and it supports it. So, to make an effective argument, you must provide a strong evidence that your reader finds persuasive. Okay, now you have to choose an evidence to support a claim. Consider this claim: computer games enhance classroom instruction. Which one is the strongest evidence to support this claim? The first one or the second one? Let's read both. Teachers across several districts reported an increase in student engagement during lessons, or several companies are working around the clock to create computer games that are both appropriate and fun for students in a classroom environment. So, which one do you think is the strongest evidence to support the claim computer games enhance classroom instruction? Well, the first one, teachers across several districts reported an increase in student engagement during lessons that involved computer games. So, reported by the teachers. So, this change seems like the strongest evidence. Counterintuitive though it may sound at first, decreasing the number of hours people work would benefit the economy. This is a claim. Now, let's read two strongest evidence which can support the claim. Although Germans typically work fewer hours than workers in other developed nations, Germany recently appeared at the top of a list ranking employee productivity in different countries. Or the second one, when my company instituted a policy that all employees take at least one personal day per month, I immediately felt like I became more productive in my job, stated local bank employee Bella Dotson. So, so a statement by a person. Oh, wrong answer. Why? Why do you think it's wrong? Well, this is anecdotal. It may not generalize to other people or companies because it is a statement by a person. So, a shorter work week allows workers time for activities that are important to their physical and mental well being, such as exercising, spending time with family. This evidence doesn't directly relate to the claim, which is about economic benefits. So, this one, the first one, that the first answer provides the strongest evidence that given the claim counterintuitive though it may sound at first, this first answer provides the strongest evidence to this claim. Another claim, prescription drugs should not be advertised directly to consumers because of the potential risk of misinforming the public. This is a claim. Advertisements for prescription drugs encourage consumers to seek medical advice from medical professionals. Or, although the FDA does not approve all advertisements for prescription drugs, most consumers say that they assume the ads have been approved. So, the claim is that prescription drugs should not be advertised directly to consumers because of the potential risk of misinforming the public. So, which option do you think is correct? Well, the first one. Well, if I choose the first one, let's see what does it say. Wrong answer. Why am I choosing wrong answers? Well, we need to discuss this. Well, the claim that prescription drugs should not be advertised directly to consumers because of the potential risk of misinforming the public, the second answer choice provides. This provides the strongest claim that although the FDA does not approve all advertisements for prescription drugs, most consumers say that they assume the ads have been approved. So, the ads are not good for them because there is a potential risk of misinforming the public. The other answer choice does not provide strongest evidence. In 2012, the pharmaceutical industry in the US spent more than $3 million on prescription drug advertisements targeting consumers, and the amount of money the industry spends on advertisement doesn't directly relate to the claim, which is about the potential risk of misinforming the public. And this claim, advertisements for prescription drugs encourage consumers to seek medical advice from medical professionals. It suggests that direct advertisement of prescription drugs to consumers is appropriate, and which is not. It is not appropriate. There's a potential risk. So the first one is wrong, the second one is correct. Is not a reliable source for academic research. This is a claim. Now, which is the strongest evidence? Wikipedia was launched in 1999, whereas the Encyclopedia Britannica has been published continuously since 1768. Wikipedia is not necessarily posted by subject matter experts. So, which claim? Oh, sorry, which evidence supports the claim? First one or second one? Look at the first one. Wikipedia was launched in 1999, whereas the Encyclopedia Britannica has been published. It talks about the publication date or launching date of both. But the claim is not about this. Look at the claim. Wikipedia is not a reliable source. It's about its reliability. So the second one, information on Wikipedia is not necessarily posted by subject matter experts. This supports the claim. So this is the strongest evidence. College is worth the cost of tuition because graduates experience greater financial success. This is a claim. The lifetime earnings of a college graduate are about $500,000 more than those of someone with only a high school diploma. College graduates are more likely than those who don't have college degrees to report being in excellent health. Which one is correct? First one or second one? Well, you know, when you write and when you claim something in your writing, providing a strong evidence is really crucial. Just look at both options. One option doesn't go well with the claim. I mean, it isn't relatable to the claim. Second one, look at the second one. It talks about reports being graduates in excellent health. Well, Look at the claim, it's about financial success. So, the first evidence, the lifetime earnings of a college graduate are about $1 million. It provides a fact. So, the first one, and it's this fact is about financial success. Okay, we need to stop here and move to the next lesson, which I told you earlier. That the lesson number three, choose the most appropriate counterclaim for a given claim. So let's begin this lesson. This will also help you in writing. Third lesson, choose the most appropriate counterclaim for a given claim. Well, argumentative writing involves taking a stand that others might disagree with. An effective argument acknowledges and refutes the major objections or counterclaims that others might have. So, provide an effective argument. And if you don't, because an effective argument acknowledges and refutes the major objections or counterclaims that others might have. So, acknowledging counterclaims makes you appear more fair. So, when you acknowledge counterclaims, it makes you appear more fair and balanced as a writer. And refuting those counterclaims strengthens your argument. Like if you uh, refute counterclaims in your writing, and if you provide a counterclaim, it strengthens your argument. While developing a piece of argumentative writing, you'll need to decide which counterclaim or claims to address. An appropriate counterclaim to address is one that offers a reasonable challenge to your claim. For instance, consider the following claim: the minimum wage should be raised to the level of a living wage that workers can live on. This would be an appropriate counterclaim. With rising the labor costs, some businesses might have to lay off workers or even shut down. Because the minimum wage should be raised to the level of a living wage that workers can live on. So this is a counterclaim, appropriate counterclaim. That with rising labor costs, obviously, with the rising cost, if a business cannot afford it, they might have to lay off workers or even shut down. And in contrast, these would not be appropriate counterclaims. A change in the minimum wage would require updates to accounting and payroll systems. Not relevant. This counterclaim is too minor or narrow to challenge the claim in a meaningful way. Workers making a higher wage would have correspondingly higher taxes. This counterclaim does not directly address the claim because there's nothing about taxes. These increased labor costs would cause the economy to collapse. This counterclaim is an exaggeration, obviously. Then the minimum wage is clearly sufficient given the millions of people currently working at such jobs. Well, this counterclaim uses faulty reasoning because this doesn't sound okay. So this one, with rising labor costs, some businesses might have to lay off workers or even shut down. So this challenges the claim. So providing a counterclaim strengthens your argument. Effective argument. A student's essay makes this claim. To improve focus and learning, the use of technology in the classroom should be strictly limited. With silence introduces a more appropriate counterclaim. Admittedly, it is important for students to develop fluency with technology, or admittedly, students tend to enjoy using technology. Okay, if I choose the first one, let's see what happens. Yes, it is correct because it is important for students. Labor unions work to protect their members' rights and should be encouraged. Labor unions work to protect their members' rights and should be encouraged, which is the proper appropriate counterclaim. Of course, the union membership rate in the US is lower than ever, currently at about half of what it was 2 decades ago. For the second one, of course, labor unions often charge their members high dues, which actually decreases workers' net earnings. This seems like another idea. So the first one, that union membership rate in the US is lower than ever. It should be encouraged. So this is a proper counter argument. Well, why not? You might be thinking. Labor unions often charge their members high dues, which actually decreases their net earnings. This is more appropriate because it offers a reasonable challenge to the claim, and the claim is that union labor unions work to protect their members' right and should be encouraged. So we need a counter argument which challenges the claim. This second one does not directly addresses the claim. So the fact that the union membership rate was fallen over time does not prove that it needs to be higher. Yearbook editors should not be expected to represent all students equally in the yearbook. One could argue that schools should be dedicated to promoting a sense of inclusion and belonging, and the yearbook is an important part of that. One could argue that also students want to be represented in their yearbook and remembered by their classmates. Think about it, which one is the correct answer? Let's choose one answer and then discuss further. Well, this is correct. Television shows fail to reflect the cultural diversity that exists in America today. This is a claim. Now find an appropriate counterclaim. Some people might point out that a show featuring an African American woman in the lead role has won several awards. Some people might point out that television has made great strides in featuring ethnic minorities in recent years. So, which one is the counter argument which challenges the claim? Shows fail to reflect the cultural diversity that exists in America today. And the first counterclaim is that some people might point out that a show featuring an African American woman in the lead role has won several awards, and it challenges this claim, doesn't it? What do you say? No, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Because this one, television has made great strides in featuring ethnic minorities in recent years, so this offers a reasonable challenge to the claim. Well, in my opinion, this first one seems, it challenges it more. To improve student performance, boys and girls should be separated in schools. This is a claim, so you need to select a counter claim. Some might respond that separating students by gender reinforces stereotypes. Some might respond that separating students by gender would cause boys and girls to be frightened of each other. Again, I'll pick one answer and we'll discuss it. Again, wrong. Why? Because look at the first one. Some might respond that separating students by gender reinforces stereotypes and it challenges the claim because the claim says that to improve student performance, boys and girls should be separated in school. So this is a counter argument that it reinforces stereotypes. So the first answer is correct. Video games can be addictive, so young people should not play these games. Granted, moderate video game use can foster coordination, concentration, and stress relief. Granted, some violent video games are used by the military to train soldiers. It's about young people. Let's select the first one and see what happens. Very good. It's the correct one. So, students, I hope you understand how to choose the appropriate counterclaim for a given claim. I'm going to end the class here. See you next time.